What's going on, world? Everybody out there in YouTube. Today we're going to be making what's known as a brush bow. A brush bow. Basically what I'm going to show you is how to turn this regular old PVC pipe into a working and deadly bow and arrow. Okay? We're going to go over how it needs to be done and how you need to make it, how other people will tell you how to make it, and what I've found out myself, and what are the wrong ways to make it, and what are some things you don't want to do with your brush bow, because those points are rather neglected. So stay tuned, and by the end of the video you should have yourself a nice little bow and arrow. The first point that I'm going to make on the brush bow is that most videos, most people on YouTube would have you make one of these smaller ones, and this is probably actually by comparison to theirs a larger one. These smaller ones, you know, and I'll add in video where you see me using it and showing you why I don't like the small ones. Well, first of all, you just seen that pop out. But that's not because it's smaller. That's because this one was used before it was taped, and we'll get to that. But with these smaller ones, they are a little bit harder to draw back, so you don't get as much follow through with them. To me, it seems like the way you just saw it popped out, they're a little bit more prone to pop while you're using them. Like you just saw it popped while you were using it. You don't want that, because there's definitely far more tension in the smaller ones, and they are far harder to string. Now, the more tension in it, of course, means more power behind it. But also, since we're working with cheap material here, it also means the more possibility for it to break on you, like you just saw it do on me twice. When I make them, I generally make them long bows. Okay, this one is ruined. This one's no good, but I'm just using it for an example here. This one is 6 foot tall. Well, it's a little bit taller than 6 foot tall. It's 6 foot when it's strung. Like that. That's 6 foot tall. And if you know anything about archery, a long bow should be the same height as you. Something to keep in mind there. This one is ruined. Absolutely ruined. It's no good from leaving it strung. Let's see if you guys can tell. There is absolutely no power behind this, because leaving it strung turned this straight PVC pipe, which is where it gets its power from, you know, the bending, into this curved PVC pipe. So it no longer has the power that it once did. So if you can see on my string here, there's multiple knots, because by leaving it strung and it kept bending, you know, at one point it was that long, then at another point it was that long. I had to keep adjusting the string and making the string shorter in order to continue to get power out of my bow. And there's another thing, I don't know if it's quite as obvious on the video camera. Let's see if you can see it. It actually warped and twisted the PVC pipe to the side. Alright, now what I mean by that is, if you can see this black line on it, alright, the black line is on the side over here. Initially, that black line is my aiming mark. It would have been right above my thumb. Alright, that's how bad and twisted this has become from leaving it strung up without taking the string out. So that if you expect your brush bow to be anything more than a toy, take your string out of it. If you expect to ever be able to use it, take your string out of it. Now also, the great thing about these brush bows is if you have yourself a couple arrows, it shouldn't be too hard, you know, when S-H-I-T or S-H-I-F rather, I'm sorry, H-I, whatever, I'm spelling it wrong. When the stuff hits the fan, that's what I'm trying to tell you. When the stuff hits the fan, this is something that if you have a knife and a rope in your bug out bag, you can find a PVC pipe and you can make one of these, okay? Well, also tape is something very important for making these. If you don't have tape, they're not going to work. So a good serrated knife or any other knife, depending on how hard you want to work, a good knife, tape, rope, and you can have yourself a bow. Now, this is poor man's prepper. So there is an expensive part to this, all right? And the expensive part is your arrows. I can't find arrows for cheaper than $3 a piece. If you could find them for cheaper than $3 a piece, please let me know. Leave a comment right down here. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe right up here, people. Come on. But $3 a piece for an arrow. They can get fairly expensive. And then what I have in them is just practice tips. I've got the case. It's like 20 practice tips for $3. So, you know, get yourself a couple practice arrows, get you a couple arrows. This is something that is going to cost you a little bit of money if you want arrows. I wouldn't suggest trying to make arrows. I could go through with you and show you how to make them. I wouldn't suggest it. It's extremely hard. And it can get expensive to make them as well if you don't have the right tools. So stay tuned and let's get on out here and make ourselves a brush bow. Alright, so now we're out here ready to make our brush bow. Now, if you know anything about me or you know anything about this channel, we're going to keep it cheap. So I'm going to be doing my cutting with a regular old hacksaw. Doesn't mean that if you got, you know, a Sawzall or something better, you could use that. This is the cheapest saw that they sell at the name brand. I'm not advertising anybody, so that's the cheapest saw that they sell at the name brand hardware stores. So initially, what we need that saw for is we need to cut a hole. You'll understand more once I get it done, into either side where the string's gonna go. Now, what I like to do is on your PVC pipe, you'll have this lettering cut on either side of the lettering to make your notch. That way you can make 100% sure when you get to the other side that your notches are going to line up. Because there's not much that you can do to measure it that's going to make sure your lines are straighter than this company's lines were when they made that line. So that's a good suggestion to keep with. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's get this cut. Alright, I figured I'd show you guys how we're doing this so that there's no confusion. Alright, like I said, you're cutting a line on either end of those words. Alright, let me show you what I did here. Very simple, just sawed there, go on the other side of the words, saw there. And then you pop this up. Probably need alright, like I was saying, you pop this up. Probably need a knife or something, stick it down in there. Pop it up. Yeah, sorry about the wobbliness here. I am my own cameraman. Pop that up. And then you're just going to saw across. That way. Alright? Just figured I'd throw that in there so y'all know what I'm doing. Alright, the next part that you need to do to your brush bow is right underneath where you just made them notches at. You need to tape it up. Alright, tape it up good and tight. Doesn't matter what kind of tape you use, as long as you tape it up tight. This is clear tape. I'm not even sure what it's really called. I always just called it packing tape. This is pressure tape. It busts open. So therefore, this is cheap tape. If this tape will hold it together, whatever tape you got will hold it together. Alright? So don't get caught up on what kind of special tape you need to use or whatever. But the tape is important. If you do not use tape, and like you saw with that first bow, that first small one that I had, I tried to, get out there and shoot a couple arrows out of it before I taped the ends together. And one shot, it cracked down the PVC pipe. Alright, so that's what's going to happen if you do not tape the ends of it. Also, while you have your tape out, if you have measuring tape too, what you need to do is measure the entirety of your bow and find the exact center of it. And then measure 2 inches from, either side of the center for your hand grip. It doesn't necessarily have to be 2 inches, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever feels good for you. Alright? So that is the next step, and it's a very important step. If you're not taping up your ends, your bow is going to bust on you. So let's go ahead and get that done. Alright, now we've got our PVC pipe all taped up. Got tape on the ends. I did put some other tape on it. That's just electrical tape with a little bit of duct tape underneath it. Too much tape will never hurt. So don't be scared to put all types of tape on it. I also measured out the center and put these 2 things of tape just so I know, about where my hand falls. So let's go ahead and try and string this thing. See if we can't string it. I didn't measure out this tape or this rope. I eyeballed it. I'm assuming it's going to be right. Now, what they say, let me just throw one of the other ones together so I can show you. What they say is that your bow should be 6 inches from this rope to the handle. 6 to 8 inches, somewhere in there. I would say whatever's comfortable for you. Whatever feels best for you. Whatever is getting you the amount of power out of it that you want. Because obviously the more you bend it, the more power you're going to get out of it. But also the harder it's going to be to string and unstring. Alright. Let's see what happens here. Alright. Not too bad. Let's take this puppy out and see if it works. Now, disclaimer. I am showing you how to make this. I didn't tell you you had to make one. I am a novice, as well as anyone watching this video and trying to make one of these is a novice as well. Don't take my word for it. If you want to make one of these and you don't think that what I'm saying is safe, look at other videos. Look at other people. Look up how to make them. Don't go hurt yourself outside and then try and blame me. Disclaimer. Alright, now, let's go have ourselves some fun. Alright, now before we run outside, there was a couple things that I forgot to mention. When you're making your notches in the end, you want to make sure you take a file in there and, basically file it off any kind of burrs or sharp parts, because that'll cut your rope and you don't want that. And also, this is a fairly thick PVC pipe, and any other PVC pipe that I've used was thinner than this one, and they all worked. They didn't last all that long usually, but that's because I failed to maintain them. Any other video I've seen on how to make these, they suggest filling them with something. Usually somebody will take a PVC pipe and cut it down the middle and, you know, beat it inside, or they'll fill it with foam or something. They fill it with something. I don't fill mine. I feel that that's gonna add to the elasticity that they have. It's gonna add to the power behind them. I feel that they already have enough power in them. It's gonna make them harder to string and unstring. And from what you saw from the initial parts of this video, you do need to unstring it every time. So don't make that harder on yourself. And basically, when you're doing that, you know, there could be other reasons behind it. And if I'm just missing whatever reasons behind it are, please leave a comment down here and let me know. But, you know, basically, you're taking a cheap bow that you're making for less than $5, and you're putting a whole bunch of labor that's not necessary into it, and you're adding more parts to it that aren't necessarily necessary. So if you skip the whole filling it part, then it could be something that you wouldn't mind if it breaks and you got to throw it away. But if you're filling them all, then they're going to be, you know, that much harder to make, and it's going to be that much more heart-wrenching when you got to throw it out. Just thought I'd throw that in there. All right. Now let's go see how this thing shoots. That one caught my shark a little weak. Alright, and there you have it. If it's too weak for what you like, make another knot on the string, make it a little bit shorter. If it's too strong or too hard to pull back, put a little bit more slack on the string, and that's all it is. You got yourself a brush bow. Oh yeah. And hopefully I don't see y'all in them FEMA camps, but I'll see you next time. Until then, this is Joel with Poor Man's Prepper.